You guys probably don't realize this, but it's actually more common than you think to have filmmakers' parents representing the film at film festivals. My dad actually did this for me one time. And oftentimes the parents are able to speak as well or better than the filmmaker because they have uncanny knowledge into how hard their children have been working. And so I want to thank you guys for being here. And I was talking with you guys earlier, and actually, another thing you may not realize is that the investment that they've made in their children over the course of their lives, these are probably two of the most expensive movies ever made. So I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you very much. Why don't we start on this side? Sorry about that. Now, John here.
Yes.
Okay. It's kind of extraordinary that someone so young actually not only has the opportunity to make a feature film like Tom did, but it's gone pretty far. I mean, how did he pull that off? I don't really have a better question, but how did he pull this off from designing such an expensive film? How did that happen?
He graduated in June 2010. About June 20th of 2010 from Brooks Institute in Santa Barbara, Ventura in Santa Barbara, California. And the very next day, whatever day that was, it was a Monday, he and the three other gentlemen that comprised Pelican House Productions went to work for the first day. We were out there for graduation. The next morning, they went to work. I said, what are you going to do?
So they graduated and they started a company.
They started a company called Pelican. I think they all had jobs in the industry, as they had all worked. Tom worked a lot as he was going through school. He got on any project, commercial, whatever he could do from the time he went out there. So he was a very good college student. He did his work, and he was very involved in getting whatever experience he could as he was going to school. But they all came to the conclusion that they wanted to give this a shot. And I kind of encouraged them. He'll tell you that I said, go get a job, go work for somebody, get a paycheck. But they said no, they didn't want to do that, and they thought they wanted to do this, so they decided they were going to make this movie. Now he had made a senior thesis film called Shipwreck Cove that we got to see when we made that trip out there for graduation, which was like a 21 or 22 minute film that you can watch on the internet if you'd like to. But anyhow, and that was quite impressive too. And he had some awards at graduation that surprised his mother and me quite a bit, and we were quite proud of him graduating, and not only graduating, but graduating with a lot of respect from the faculty and the school and his peers. So he was off to a good start, and then they were going to do this, and so I'll bring this to an end. They didn't want to go to work for everybody. They wanted to make a movie. They were looking, I don't know if they wanted to divulge numbers, but I know they were looking at the $500,000 budget to do this, and that's one of the first things they had to do was go after investors, and so they started begging for money. And anything else?
Well, they said when they graduated that within 1 year of graduation, they were going to start filming. And darn if those little snots didn't do it. Exactly 1 year to the day that they graduated, they started filming this, and they had 18 days, including 2 days of rain. That was all that the budget allowed for them to film this movie. But so in this year, then I'm tremendously impressed at what they had to learn legally and working with the unions and all the finances that were involved in this, and I give them a devil of a lot of credit for setting a goal and accomplishing what they had hoped to do.
Yeah, it is quite an accomplishment. Well, another great accomplishment is not only Augie's film, but Augie's program. I understand that he is in a very prestigious program at the University of North Carolina. Is that correct?
conservatory system. So the way they have it set up is every year you have to re-audition to stay in. I encourage that kind of program because Augie's been the type that will only perform to where he has to. And so this year he got in, he's a junior now. This was a sophomore film, and he's a junior now, and there's only 10 slots in the directing program, and he landed one of them.
Very impressive.
Now, the film we saw today, Skunk, the short film at the beginning of the program, is a film that Auggie made for school.
Right.
And I mean, it was very polished, but I gather that what they were required to do was like not necessarily go out and plan extensively before they shot. So maybe you can tell me a little bit about how Skunk came about.
They, at the school, they have, in the freshman year, you shoot a 3-minute film, the sophomore year, you shoot a 5 to 7-minute film, and the junior year, it moves up that way. And they call these their guerrilla films, and it's put together, it's all plotted out and planned and edited, and the scripts are written and approved, and they've gone through all the teachers. His teacher on this was Pete Bogdanovich, by the way.
Wow.
So he, and then they're given a day to shoot. They're given a specific time period to shoot, so he doesn't know what the weather's going to be or anything like that when he shoots it. And he did all his interviews for, they did role, had the people come in to test for the actor, who they wanted to hire for. And the blonde-haired kid was the one that they originally wanted in the film, but he had another side. He had to do, he was picked for something else that he was going to end up doing. So they went back to another round of looking for another actor for that position. They hired him and really liked him, and then something came out with him, he couldn't do it, so they went back to the original guy whose deal fell through. So there's all leading up to this, he's got all these elements that he's got to put together, and he wanted sun for that final, for the shot of the guy walking through the parking lot, and they just, again, the day was assigned, and they had the convenience store that they were going to use. It's shot in Winston-Salem, and that because the film school is down there, there's a lot of participation by the community in it, and the convenience store is really up for it. But then they read the script and didn't like the language, so they couldn't let them shoot inside. So they had to shoot the whole thing in the parking lot at the last minute. So, and then you pull it all together, and it's just, it's part of the learning experience that they go through to put this thing together.
Excellent. So, I mean, I gather that all of that came together kind of quickly. I mean, when you lose an actor, you really have to scramble to get another one. It sounds like that's what happened.
Right. They ended up having to ad-lib some of the script. So they shot 2 or 3 takes on every scene, so they had stuff that they could use, and then go back and edit it.
I can tell you what he said in his text.
Auggie sent a text from North Carolina. I would very much like to hear that.
Because I told him, I said, what am I supposed to say? Skunk was an assignment for second-year directing, a guerrilla film where we had to show up and just shoot. I shot it and ended up shooting it in the parking lot of the school. It stars Adam Maitland, a fellow third-year director and writer of his third-year film. So they switched back and forth on some of this, and Tanner Auggie, a second-year prospective director. He says, I love the pitching in advance. My next movie, he gets that from his mother. My next movie, After Air, is post-apocalyptic Little Mermaid. Skunk is an exercise for me in pacing, starting with the climax and working backwards from there. Heavily inspired by Quentin Tarantino, if you couldn't tell. I had the actors learn the beats of the script, but then improv the dialogue.
Thank you. Next one. Okay, so I have to ask the question. Because obviously, Tom is a very disciplined person. He went out to the West Coast, went to school, and stayed out there. How involved have you been in his growth as a filmmaker? I mean, I take it you're from the area here.
Yes.
How much encouragement did he need from you guys, and how hands-on have you been in his film projects?
It's not a trick question.
I think Tom probably started when he was 7 or 8 years old, when I got a video camera for Christmas that I have never touched. And all of this, you know, in all the time, and he started just with things around the neighborhood, and then we have 4 children, and both of the boys were interested. One was an extreme biker and did some construction of skate parks, and Tom was a skater, and so then they did a lot of videos with their different sports and the things that they were doing. And then anytime you had to do a project for school, Tom automatically went to film and did it on film. If it was a science project, if it was when they had to do something from Great Expectations, he made a film. And actually we had kind of a funny thing because they were in 8th grade and they were filming the Battle of Gettysburg in the backyard. I came home from work and we had all these kids in the backyard and they didn't have enough kids for it, so they put a fisheye on the camera and we were filming in black and white, and then they raided all of our closets and suit coats and dress coats. So first they would put on all the blue clothes and march one way, and then they would take them off and put on gray clothes. And John came home from work and he said, "What are we going to feed all these kids?" And I said, "Well, I'll get pizza." So we got pizza and they came in and the boys were talking about what they were going to shoot next, and they said, "We just have to film Lee surrendering to Grant." And I said, "Which history book did you read? Because Lee didn't surrender at the Battle of Gettysburg." And I said, "It's too bad we didn't think about this sooner, because we could have gone to Gettysburg, and the next thing I know, I was reporting off for work the next day, getting in a van with 7 boys at 5 a.m., and we're driving to Gettysburg." We talked to the people in the park ranger's office and said, we explained what the boys were doing, said we didn't want to be disrespectful, and they directed us to a part of the national park where they could film without being offensive. But one of the boys picked up the microphone and said, "This is Joe Smith, and we're standing here pointing to the sign at the Gettysburg National Historic Park and saying, and this is how you spell Gettysburg, BONUSPOINTS." So they did get a lot of bonus points, and when they went back to school the next day, they had their film and they had their Gettysburg t-shirts. But Tom's it's just always something he's been interested in. And when we started out, I said, "I don't think the government's going to let me send 2 kids to medical school for what film school offers." And we started out going somewhere in Pittsburgh, and then he just said, "If it's going to be like preschool if I go to Pittsburgh, and I'm still going to have to go to California." And interestingly enough, we had a date set to leave for school, and he knew some people at Brooks from his older sister going out there, and they were already calling him to come and work on student projects and things, so he bought himself a one-way ticket, ditched us, never returned back.
The rest is history. Excellent.
I'll make a brief comment. You asked the question, how much did we get involved in these projects? And I don't know anything about it. I was Larry Miller, I suppose. in that story, I was pushing him to play basketball or baseball. And anyhow, Tom found out I don't know if Tom knew what he wanted to be, but he certainly seems like a fish in water. When the day we sat at graduation at Brooks Institute, and he was like big man on campus that day, and I said, I guess I was wrong in pushing him to play basketball or baseball or whatever. He was a good little athlete, but that's the way things work out.
I guess so.
I didn't help him very much with his film, but I learned a lot about film, so in the meantime.
Can I answer that one too?
I would absolutely love you to answer this question, because I didn't know if it was.
Well, I think the comment about, sending them off to film school, I remember when we were looking at art schools or theater scholarships, my father's comment to me was, "Honey, that's your avocation. I'll be paying for your vocation. So I have a lot of pride in the fact that I never said it directly to it. But when he called, so for us, being it's so far away, you know, there's only so much as parents we can do, so we try to do the best we can. I remember him calling his freshman year, and he's all worked up because he's frustrated. He's doing this film on bulimia, and the lead character is suffering with bulimia, and they have a setup like this, and they have this little studio. They can build everything. He's like, how am I going to fake a toilet? They have everything here, but they don't seem to have bathroom stuff. So I got on the internet and Googled being a plumber's daughter. I got on the phone and within 2 hours had donated 2 toilets and a sink to UNCSA. So I told him, I said, that's what I can do. I can't shoot for you, I can't do whatever, but that I can do. So that's how we try to help. Skunk was named by Dad.
Both Aundrea and I are writers, so we've always gotten involved in the script writing. In fact, he's got the post-apocalyptic Little Mermaid script sitting in our email for us to go before he turns it in. But that was going over the Skunk, he got ready, he was like 2 days before the shoot, he said, I still don't have a name for it. I said, we're going to call it Skunk. And then he passed it around to the people on the set, and they said, that's perfect, that's what we're going to do. So he did most of everything he did in high school, it's all related to film and script writing. But he didn't do any film on his own until his senior year, and it was for somebody else's project. So everything else he was involved in was just more script writing, and eventually the kid asked him to shoot, since he liked going to movies, if he would shoot his movie for him. And it was another kid's project. Auggie shot it, and he got the principal and the assistant principal to be involved in the film as well as the security guards.
And
Liberty Police. And it was the scenes that he shot with the Liberty Police where he shot it over and over again with the Liberty Police Department. And it was that scene from that movie that got him into the school. It was one that said that they'd never seen anything, that kind of involvement from police or anything.
Collaboration.
Collaboration. And it was the collaboration that he was able to put together that got him into the film itself.
Well, since we have a nice audience here, does anyone have any questions? We can open this up a little bit, and you folks can get in on the Philadelphia silent interview here. Anybody? You can think about it, it's okay.
Stacked it with relatives.
That's right.
Well, everybody already heard the stories. Well, okay. For the people who are not interested, tell me a little bit about what has happened with general education since, because I know this film was played in New York, like they actually obtained distribution. So can you tell us a little bit about what has happened with the film since they completed it?
Yeah, it's been a long process, and it's like building a great big house. They build houses, and they can be a process, but this is a bigger process. But after the 18 days of shooting, then they went into post-production, all this stuff, but they went into post-production, and for a long period, quite a period of time. Anyhow, it was around November Thanksgiving, about a year ago, was when the final product was finally complete, and I kept saying, what are you going to do with this thing? Well, their original intention with the film was they were set on going to Sundance. And they had their heart set on getting accepted into Sundance, which is the end of January, I believe. And I think the acceptances were made maybe December or early January, I don't know, but it was beginning of December. So we kind of were on pins and needles because they were still in the running. They get through the first day because they would be massive emails of rejections go out, and they were still in the running and it didn't happen. That was disappointing. Anyhow, I'll skip the disappointments, but now they did have the finished product. We did get to go out there. One of his partners flew my wife and me out to LA to see the inaugural showing of it for the cast and the crew, and that was very special to be able to be there for that. And then the following week, Tom was home, and he rented a theater over at the Shenango Theater over there. on a Saturday morning, and he just wanted to invite some relatives and a few people that he knew, some of his teachers, and it showed there. But anyhow, they finally, the first film festival that they were accepted into was the Cleveland International Film Festival, which was a real treat. They showed 3 times there. It was a very well run and organized film festival. I was very impressed by it. It was very enjoyable. They had 400 people there on a Friday night for it. So it showed there, and then where did they go? They went to the Newport Beach Film Festival, and they won an award there for, what was that award called? Outbreak or Breakout Filmmaker Award at the Newport Beach Film Festival. And there were some nice things written in the paper. They won a couple unofficial awards by guys that write articles, film articles in the paper in Orange County. So that was very positive. They ended up going to the Indianapolis Film Festival after that. The Manhattan Film Festival was a interesting experience because Mary and I met Tom in New York. He was the only member of the Pelican House team that traveled to New York for that. And so we were able to attend that one. Anyhow, to answer get speed up here a little bit, they were interested from the very start, they were interested in going theatrical. Now see, all I knew was, my knowledge of filmmaking was, if you're going to make a film, it's going to show at the cinema in Boardman or in Austintown or wherever there's cinemas around the area. They're going to show in the theaters there. That's what they're going to do, and then eventually you'll get them at the library and bring them home and watch them for free at home on your television. But it shows in theaters. I didn't realize that probably most films never make it to theaters, but they were bent on a theatrical release of some sort. I thought, how's this going to happen? Who's going to pick this film up? Anyhow, they made several contracts. One of them was with Well Go USA for the USA distribution, and then they contracted with contracted with Anchor Bay to do the Canadian distribution. Anchor Bay Canada wanted Anchor Bay USA to go with them for worldwide distribution, but Anchor Bay USA wasn't interested anyhow. So Anchor Bay USA distribution rights began in January. And then this Well Go USA began in, it's out now. The film the film came out on DVD and Blu-ray on October 2nd. In the meantime, because they were so intent on having a theatrical release, they made arrangements on their own basically, with 11 cities across the United States: New York, Boston, Seattle, Dallas, Columbus, and a couple cities a couple towns in North Chico and another small town in northern. They filmed this movie in Ridley, California, which is near Chico. So there was a pretty good following, a little bit of interest up there. So they did have some theatrical release, which was tough, a little bit trying, especially when they started in New York, and it was difficult, and there wasn't a whole lot of people that came to the movie because nobody knew about it. But so anyhow, now it's out. It was out as of October 2nd on DVD, Blu-ray. It was on video. It still is on video on demand or Apple iTunes, so you can view it that way as well. And then they have plans for it to come out, whatever the process is at Netflix and all these other avenues. Yeah, they have an HBO contract with Central Europe, and they have something with the country of Lebanon. When they're not in battle over there, they're going to be, watch general education. So it's a good break, It did show the Cannes Marketplace. We talked about Cannes last night. It did get reviewed at the Cannes Marketplace, not in the festival, but in the Cannes Marketplace, where Mr. Jones, who filmed last night, told us that a lot of that's a marketplace for people, prospective buyers, to pick up a film, and it got a decent review there. Good. Better than what we got in New York. New York didn't like us.
Aundrea, I saw you shopping a bit. Is there anything you'd like to add? Any other stories? What's next for Auggie? I know he's got his mermaid film.
He's got 2.
Go ahead.
Senior projects.
Yeah.
His senior project is going to be around both Mask of the Red Death. He got approved for that this year, so that's.
That's the one he's directing.
Directing, but he also has to work as a writer on somebody else's film, he has to work as a producer on somebody else's film. I'm not sure what the other projects are that he's involved in.
Tell him about the writing, the one he wrote.
You can tell me.
I can forget all the words. It's
Can you help me?
Coming Up Vegan, and it's the story of a young teen, a family situation like this where it's very family oriented, but it's considered a black comedy because as you go through this idea that, and like, oh, I want to be a vegan, and the 17-year-old, she's fighting the family scenario, and the mom's a famous chef in town and known for her spicing and how she cooks. You find out as the film progresses, or I guess you don't find out it's a fun scene, that actually they're cannibals. Everyone else is a cannibal, she wants to be a vegan. So the script is hysterical. I can't.
Awesome. Well, do you have any questions from the audience? No? Okay, well, I want to thank you all for being here. Thanks so much for presenting these films.